So this is an insight into how we're operating Spencer Matthews' Great Desert Challenge. First, how we're managing his general health. Second, the data we're collecting to measure how his body is responding to the heat. And third, the evidence we're collecting to ensure the world record is verified at the end of the month. So the first thing we do for his general health is to ensure he takes his supplements every day. This is the Heights Trio. First, we have Vitals Plus, which is a multivitamin he takes every day to ensure his immunity stays topped up. The second is Biotic Plus, which is a premium probiotic, which ensures his gut stays as healthy as possible. And third is Magnesium Plus, which helps improve the quality of his sleep. The second and most important thing we do for his general health is his daily physio with Johnny. Spencer will have about an hour's treatment every day with Johnny, sometimes treating niggles to ensure they don't develop into injuries, and sometimes just doing general maintenance. So next is the data we're collecting to monitor how Spencer's body is responding to the heat. The first thing we do is, this is BodyCap electronic pill, which Spencer swallows the night before each marathon. And overnight it works its way down into his GI, so that then it transmits via Bluetooth his core temperature to this tablet. We measure his core temperature continuously, but every hour during the marathon, I'll grab this tablet from the support vehicle, run over to Spencer and just jot down what his core temperature is, so we know if it's rising and if we need to intervene. The next piece of kit we have is a backup core temperature sensor. Now this is a non-invasive technique, so it doesn't sit within the body, so it's not as accurate as the BodyCap electronic pill, but the pill does sit in his stomach just like any normal food. So if he goes to the toilet and the pill comes out, this is our backup sensor. This is a thermal heat energy transfer sensor, which measures the heat going out of and into his body. It's not quite as accurate as the BodyCap pill, but it's a good backup if we need to use it. We also measure Spencer's heart rate continually throughout the run, and this is something I'll check in on every 10 to 15 minutes, just so we can monitor his effort level and so that we know how much fuel he needs to be replacing for the effort he's sustaining. So next up is the Bodyweight scales. We take this measurement before and after the marathon, and by comparing his weight loss before and after, and taking into account the fluid he's consumed and the food he's consumed during the run, we can see roughly how much weight he's lost, and therefore gauge how much sweat he's likely lost, and therefore how much fluid we need to replace. This is the Urine Osmolality checker, which is also a before and after measurement. This measures the specific gravity of the particles within Spencer's urine, which gives an accurate indication of his hydration levels. And by measuring this before and after each run, we can gauge how effective our hydration strategy was. Now onto the hourly measurements. The first is this air temperature and humidity sensor, which I use every hour just to assess accurately how the weather is changing and how Spencer's body is responding to the changing climate. The next thing we measure throughout each marathon is Spencer's fluid intake. So I jot down every milliliter of water that Spencer consumes, and when we compare this data with his urine osmolality, so his hydration status, and his weight loss throughout the marathon, so his sweat loss, we can get a really accurate gauge of how effective our fluid replacement strategy is. Alongside fluid intake, we also measure Spencer's sodium intake throughout each run. Before the challenge, the guys at Precision Fuel and Hydration measured the sodium concentration of Spencer's sweat. So we know he loses 920 milligrams of sodium per litre of sweat. Now, we're using the body weight measurement to gauge how much sweat he's losing, and we know how much sodium he loses per litre, and therefore we know how much sodium we need to replace. So that's how we measure how Spencer's body is responding to the heat. Now, what do we do if we need to intervene? Now, this is usually when Spencer feels like he is a bit too hot and wants to cool down, or if we look at the devices and his core temperature is reaching or has exceeded 40 degrees Celsius, we'll implement a cooling intervention. If we need to cool Spencer down, our first port of call is the Lumi Ice Bath and Chiller. Now the CT2 Chiller cools water down to 3 degrees Celsius, which is a great resource to have at our disposal in this extreme environment if we need to get Spencer's core temperature down quickly. Another option we have is cold water pouring. Every now and again, I'll pour water over Spencer's neck and back, which promotes evaporation and also helps reduce Spencer's perception of heat. We also have cold water ingestion. Importantly, water needs to be 4 degrees Celsius or lower to have any meaningful effect on core temperature. Luckily, we have a chiller in the back of each support vehicle, which ensures the drinks that Spencer consumes are as cold as they can be. We also have ice towels, which we can place on Spencer's neck and back as he's running. And we also obviously have the support vehicles, which are air conditioned, so Spencer can take a short break if he feels like he needs to in the vehicles. So this is all of the data we're collecting during each marathon, and after the challenge, I'll be sending all of this to sports scientist Dr. Freya Bain at London South Bank University, who'll be analysing the data to assess the effectiveness of the heat acclimation protocols we did before the event and how well Spencer's body responded to the heat whilst we were out here. Lastly then, this is a world record attempt, which means we have to collect a certain amount of evidence to prove we actually did it. How do we do that? The first thing is these COROS watches. Spencer wears 2 GPS watches during each run, and we stop them when they reach 42.4 kilometers, so just over a marathon, to ensure we've done the correct distance, and we wear a second watch just as a backup in case the first one fails. The second thing Spencer carries on his person at all times is a Garmin InReach satellite device, which is used for tracking. So if you've been following along the tracking page, this is the device you've been following along. The second device we have here is for the crew, so that we know where everyone is while we're out here. We also record regular photo and video evidence which we'll submit with our claim, as well as witness statements and logbooks of our activities. And that's how we're operating Spencer Matthews' Great Desert Challenge.